change your name there. James Jordan. All right, got you now. All right, cool. What is going on, my friends? This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. It's a beautiful day. Hope you guys had a great holiday yesterday. Sorry we weren't with you. Things just got away from us. So we're back today, better than ever. I've got an amazing guest on this morning. I'm going to bring him in right now. His name is James Jordan. If you don't know him, you're about to. What's up, bro?
Hey, what's up, bro? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm fantastic, dude. I'm fantastic. Good to see you, man.
Absolutely.
So James is somebody who is a team member here at Legendary, somebody who works and coaches and consults with our clients. He advises them on their business plans and helps them to figure out how to make the most of this massive opportunity that we all have, but also inside of Legendary that we present to our students, which I think is just, I mean, I may be a little bit biased, but I think is just way more value driven, integrity driven, and just on a next level from anything else out there in the marketplace. And we'll talk about why that is today. James is going to give you his perspective. So, dude, let's just jump right in, man. You and I have history. All right, you know me from back in the day, if you will, if I can say that, if I'm not too old and dorky to say that. Back in the day, um, and you know, you've been sort of marketing online for, I guess, almost as long as I have at this point. I mean, I've been online for just about a decade. How long have you been online for?
The same, just about a decade,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit longer,
Wow.
for sure.
I think
Yeah.
you're older than you look, dude.
Yeah.
I thought you were 19 for 10 years.
I get it all the time.
Yeah. So, tell me, man, why did you, like, we can jump right into this because you've been in the industry for as long as you have. You've seen so many different things. Why did
Yeah.
you want to get involved? I basically said, just in full transparency, we'll tell the story. I said, hey, look, we need some advisors to work with our clients, and we need people who have, you know, who can train, who can advise, who's not afraid to tell people the truth, and we need people to you know, we need people to kind of serve and help and play that role, which is such a huge and important role with our clients. And you know, I was actually surprised to see your name because just there's some people who pop up in your inbox and you're like, hey, wow, didn't expect to hear from you, just because we hadn't, I think we were friends on Facebook, but we hadn't communicated that much. But here you are, and I'm so glad to have you here. You're super fired up and you're doing a great job. Why did you want to be involved with what we're doing here at Legendary?
Well, it comes down to you, David, because I know that you're the real deal and you come from a place of integrity. So I'll share a quick story. So back in, I believe, probably 2014, I was kind of struggling in my business and I wasn't understanding why I wasn't able to close sales, right? Whether it was over the phone, over Messenger, or through video. And I remember getting access to this course. I had bought this course at the time. I didn't have the money, but I figured out a way to go out and do it and make it happen. And I dived into this course, and it was a 4-hour training on storytelling from you. And I'll never forget it, because I remember sitting there on a Saturday afternoon, just glued to my computer screen, watching the entire thing. And then I literally went out on my grandmother's porch at the time where I was living and shot like this 12-minute video where I was sharing story after story after story after story after story, right? And I sent this video over to this guy who was procrastinating on joining my business for weeks, right? And I asked him what he liked best about what he saw. And he said, why'd you send me this video? You didn't share anything, blah, 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 blah. And then I asked him one more question. I said, are you ready to get started? And he said, yeah. And he bought that day. And I could not make logical sense of it. I couldn't explain it. I was just like, how did this happen? And then it came back to the art of storytelling. So because of that training, it has allowed me to sell more over the phone, over video, over Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives. All of my process that I use when it comes to sharing stories and using them to sell has come directly from you.
Yeah, I'm so appreciative and like honored that my work can get into somebody like yours hands who's going to use it. That's, I think, anybody who creates anything, that's all they really want. I mean, for me, that's more important and more powerful to me than money. That's probably easier for me to say now because I'm not hurting for money. Maybe it wouldn't have been that way 10 years ago, but I'm just keeping it
Yeah.
100% real. Um, so that's cool. I I've been using story for a long time, and I don't even use it manipulatively. I don't use it because I think it's some super duper marketing trick. I just started telling my story and using story in my marketing, and people just responded much more than when I didn't. And I was like, and I didn't even know what I was doing at first. And I think that's kind of the interesting part about how that all came about and how I became such a fan of story selling. So what do you think that, from being in the industry now for 10 years, man, what do you think that is people's biggest challenge right now? Do you think it's the same as it's always been, like shiny object syndrome, people focus, or do you think it's a new challenge? Like there's more, they're seeing more ads, more pitfalls, more people who don't have good integrity who are going to take their money. Like, what do you think people's biggest challenge is now more than ever?
Great question. I think now with, all the people I've connected with recently, I think more people are committed to their fears than their dreams. More people, they focus on what if things don't go right. They focus on, I can't do this, right? Instead of starting to ask themselves, well, how can I, right? Or make the commitment, I'm going to make this happen. I don't know the details. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm making the commitment that I'm going to follow through and I'm going to live the life that I want to live. And I think that's the biggest thing that I go through, because most of the time it's like, because I've been there and I've gone through that process, there's been times where I've slept in my car, right? There's been times where I would go to a library every single day to, work on the computer and make money, and then go get a laptop and then go back to the same library. It's just, you got to have that internal drive to really make sure that you don't buy your own excuses. And I remember I heard this probably maybe 5 or 7 years ago, and it's always stuck with me. Someone said to me, James, when you stop buying your own excuses, you stop buying everyone else's. So we all have a story in our head, right? Like David, you have a story in your head. That's why you're so successful, right? And I borrow from your story, right? So I can continue to grow and elevate and get to where I want to go as an entrepreneur. But we have to be consciously aware of the story and the program that we're running in our head, and also be aware of the way that we view ourselves, because we'll never, like Tony Robbins says, we'll never outperform our self-image, right? So I'm always working on my self-development more than my business, because I realize the better I view myself, the more action I'm going to take, the easier things are going to be. And let me rephrase that, the simpler things are going to be, right? Because the more you get skilled, right, at this process, because anyone that I know that's successful, they're disciplined and they're consistent and they're always looking to learn and grow, but they're not just looking to learn, they're looking to do, right? And I think that's a super important part of the process. And a lot of people, they stay in that over paralysis by analysis and just stay still versus taking action. Because if you take action, what's going to happen more often than not is you're going to start to figure things out. But the longer you're in the trying to decide whether or not you're ready for it, then you're not moving, you're not taking action, you're not in motion.
Yeah. No, it's super powerful. A lot of things we could dive in and dig on that you just said. Why for me, the reason why I'm asking these questions, I ask these questions to a lot of people, and I continue to, everybody has their own version of why or of their answer to this. And my hope is that something that somebody say is going to hit the right person and it's going to make it make sense. So for a lot of people, it's not going to be you or me today. It's going to be somebody else on another day on another show. But my hope is that somebody today is like, damn, that's me. That's me. Like I'm overthinking this. And I think what you just said was really powerful. What I interpreted from what you just said is people buy things, join businesses, but never really decide that they're going to succeed, because maybe the story inside of their head is this can be a quick fix or whatever. So how take us back to your process, maybe your story, or what, you can of course go wherever you want with this question, but how does somebody who is so programmed, and it's by no fault of their own, like we're just programmed to be skeptical. We're programmed to think that it can happen for somebody else, but not us. We've hung around people who have ingrained that into our heads. Parents or family members said money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that, et cetera, growing up. And we've just got a story about money. There's not an abundance of it. There's a lack of it. So how, if I've got all of that story inside of my head, James, if the story in my head almost predetermines that I'm going to fail, how do I get involved in something and then have the best chance of success? Like, what sort of, is it radical? Do I need to get accountable? What would you suggest when you go back and look at your story? I mean, how do we make this simple for people?
Yeah. I think what it really comes down to is you knowing why you're doing what you're doing. And you ask yourself, well, do I believe I can do it? And I think another key that a lot of people tend to forget is that, we all have the ability to achieve whatever it is that we put our minds to. And if another human, like my mentality is this, I know that I could go figure out whatever it is I need to figure out, right? But I know most people don't have that sort of mindset. So the next mindset that you should at least have is that if another human being walking this earth has gone out and done something, that's more than enough proof that you need that you can do it. And once you start to borrow that mentality and you start to have that, what we like to call humble arrogance, that if someone else can go do something, I can go do it. And then you start moving with that authority. You got to have authority over your own life. If you don't have authority over your own life, then someone else is going to have that authority. So you got to take that ownership with your thoughts, with your feelings, with your emotions, and that's going to translate over to your actions. So it really just comes back to making that decision that, you know what, I'm going to move forward. I'm no longer comfortable in my situation, and to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right? Like when I made the decision to, work with you, that was an uncomfortable decision, right? I could have just sat behind the scenes and drove traffic to stuff, but I asked myself, why am I doing this? And it was, I know through this avenue I could help more people right now than I would be able to do on my own, right? So it wasn't about me. It was about serving and helping other people. Just like when I get on calls and I'm talking to my kids before I get on calls, I let them know, I'm like, hey, listen, these calls aren't about me. It's about them. So keep the noise down and let me make sure I'm fully present and I'm listening to what it is this person has to say, because my role here is to help them have a breakthrough that I've already had. And because I've been there and I've done that and I've gone through all of those fears, those emotions, those frustrations, those pains, I can empathize with those people, but also make sure and let them know, hey, there's another side to it, right? Here's how you get over here. But it starts with being aware of where you're at right now and then making the decision to keep moving forward.
I think that one of the things that you said that I think somebody can grasp onto and really run with from today's show and today's conversation is the fact that if you look around and somebody else is succeeding with what you're doing, you can succeed with it. And I think that that's so true, man. And like, because you and I, we've done a lot of stuff. We've done network marketing. We've done, I mean, there's not a lot of stuff we haven't done online. Not a lot of strategies we haven't tried. Not a lot of
Yeah.
people's videos we haven't watched. I mean, when you're in this industry for 10 years, and thank God this industry existed for me as an ex-homeless, ex-addicted. I mean, thank God most of you guys don't have those sort of strikes against you. James, you have your own set of strikes that works against you. We all have, some are more than others, but this industry essentially saved my life, gave me a chance to be able to be successful. And in all the things that I got into and involved in, one of the things that I did kind of do is go to places and size people up. And I'd be like, yo, like this dude, like that was one of the power of going to events. And we have a mastermind at Legendary. And if you guys have a chance to be able to come to our mastermind, get involved. I mean, it's inserting yourself further into this leadership factory that we have. But I think one of the biggest takeaways is exactly what you said: is people come and they sit in the same room as whoever it is, but you look over and you go, God, maybe I saw this person on the internet and I put him on a pedestal, but I'm around him and
Yep.
it's just another dude. It's another
Yep.
chick. How have you used that? Because you've been to events in your career. How have you really truly used that? Have you done that same thing? Have you sized people up and been like, yo, like for real, man? Like if this person can do
I
it, like I
here,
feel like when you
yeah.
said that, you didn't just say it as a tip, like you said it as personal experience.
Yeah, so when I've gone to events, right, like you get to see people, and I wouldn't say I size people up, but it let me know that I was real. And I've shared this with people on calls and whatnot. I'm like, you got to get out to mastermind events because events are powerful.
Yeah.
But here's what you'll realize: you'll meet people that are dumber than you that make a lot more money, right? And you won't be able to
That's
explain it to
that's what
yourself,
I'm saying.
but you'll know. I was like, you'll be like, wait, this person is not intelligent, but they are making stupid amounts of money. What am I doing
Right,
wrong?
right.
Right? So
Yeah,
it humbles you, right?
right.
And it pops your ego and it allows you to be open to change. But that was the huge breakthrough for me, is that when I actually started to have conversations, I was like, well, they're not, like, I'm more intelligent than them, but they're more productive than me. So I need to figure out what they're doing that I'm not, so that I can start doing that and leverage my intelligence so I can go out and create more faster.
Right.
And the power of going to events is that you'll realize everyone's human, right? Some people are different than others and you'll connect with different people, but the whole point of going is that you're going to grow.
Yeah.
I know for me, every single time I go to events, I always grow and my check always increases, right?
Yeah.
Well, one, that changes my belief level in myself, and just getting around different people, getting around a different energy, getting out of your comfort zone, right? Masterminding with people that are on a different level, it always allows you to rise. And I mean, you know this, Dave.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. It's one of the most important. I mean, I've been either going to or hosting events as long as I've been in this industry. There's not been a single, I mean, even the first year that I was involved, I was kind of jumping around from network marketing company after network marketing company. They were sort of exploding behind me. I kind of feel like I was a guy who was running in a field of landmines as they were exploding as I took my foot off of them. It was like but I was still, the benefit that I got out of the event, or the benefit that I got out of the experience, was exactly what you and I are talking about right now. I went to an event. I'll never forget. This was before anybody knew who I was. I was involved in one network marketing company that I paid $800 to join and buy a cell phone, and it shut down before the cell phone even was shipped out to my house. So that was gone. And then the next company was a skincare company with purple branding colors. A man just didn't seem like a good fit, but I was in it. That was back when I was the pre-launch. I thought the newest, hottest. Oh my gosh! Somebody told me get in on the ground floor, and I drove my old 1990 Ford F-150 over the Courtney Campbell Causeway here in Tampa. I'm surprised I made it there. Parked around the corner so nobody would see my truck, especially because when I came out, if I started it, I'd have to pop the hood, put the screwdriver in. But something happened in that event, and what happened was I went inside and, of course, met people and saw people. And I can remember the room feeling big, but one of the things that I did was I shook hands, had a conversation with a guy named Jamie, who was from New York and was a little bit more successful and popular online than I was. And I held my camera up for the very first time and did a video with him and with me. It was like an interview. And from that moment on, I walked out of there with that confidence that I can not only speak on video like that, but I can speak on the fly, and I can have a conversation with somebody who online I looked up to as successful, but in that moment we were equals. And my confidence, James, like skyrocketed, dude, from there. And interestingly enough, our very first event when we launched Legendary was in that same room, in that same hotel in Tampa, Florida. And the room seemed a lot smaller then. It was almost like I had grown up and I wasn't this kind of little kid anymore, because when you're little, everything's big. Now, I wasn't a little kid when I was there the first time, but the point is that things came full circle. So it's a journey. It's interesting, and I think that when we get in, my last question for you is, can somebody ever really predict what's going to happen? And do you think that we shortchange ourselves in terms of what we think is possible? Because what I mean by this, if you would have told me that I would be able to have the fun I'm having, make money, live the life that I'm living back when I got started, dude, all I wanted to do is make enough money to pay my bills. Like, I never in a million years dreamed of making this a career, of being able to be location independent, like free, as long as I've been. Do you think that people shortchange themselves, man? Just because they can't see past, like you said, their own struggles?
Yeah. And the reason being is because when you get out to events and when you get to connect with people who have broken through, you'll realize that there's not much of a difference, maybe in their mindset or their daily method of operation and their belief system about themselves. So the key is to, just like I said earlier in this call, is that just realizing if another person has gone out and done it, knowing and understanding that you can do it. And I say this a lot when it comes to, people having their own personal breakthroughs, is that if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, first off, you got to start thinking like a successful entrepreneur. And then number two, you got to start acting like a successful entrepreneur. And I know me personally, people like yourself, David, and other successful entrepreneurs, they take action right then and there, right? If they see an opportunity and they have the ability to do it, they take action right now. And if they can't, they ask themselves, well, how can I, so that they can take action as soon as possible, right? They become resourceful. As long as they're passionate about what it is that they're looking for and what they want to do, they become resourceful to take it to the next level, right? Now, everyday people, right, what they tend to do is look at the reasons why they can't do something And successful entrepreneurs ask themselves, well, how can I, right? How can I get there the fastest? How can I elevate? How can I grow? How can I make this happen? How can I help and serve more people? So it's a more proactive approach to business and also life as well.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the biggest way that I've shortchanged myself is just in the underestimating the amount of growth that I could have in this industry and in this business. And um, look, guys, we're not telling you that you got to come to events or masterminds or anything like that. If you want to come, we think it'll be an amazing experience. But there's ways that you can thrive, and there's ways that you can grow, and there's ways that you can achieve your goals right here in Legendary. Even if you choose to just sit at home in your underwear the entire time, we fully endorse that as well. Um, I guarantee you, and this is my sort of like stamp, I can't guarantee financial results. I can't guarantee anything by law, nor would I ethically, because that would be a miscarriage of just it would just be it just wouldn't even be smart to set an expectation for somebody to expect that they can have any sort of result. But here's what I can tell you is that you will not believe. Let me say it like this. When when you've graduated your first year of being in this environment with us in our community, you will absolutely be unrecognizable to your haters. You will be unrecognizable to the people that once spent time with you, that you were like crabs in a bucket. Nobody really celebrated each other's success, because the reason why I say that, crabs, if they're in a bucket, they'll pull each other down. They won't let any one of the other ones actually crawl out of the bucket. You'll be unrecognizable to yourself as well. And I think for me, the thing that I never expected over all these years was that I would actually grow into the person who I was. Because when I got started in this business, James, I was like super insecure, super scared, super full of fear. The same exact person that you were describing just a second ago, with a story in my head. Like, I literally had to act as if I was already successful. It wasn't a fake it till I make it, because I didn't fake anything, but it was literally acting as if, in so much self-talk, walking around saying like, you're successful. And I would do it like in cool little like rhymey rappy ways. Like, it wasn't like I would be like, you're so successful. I would like have little tunes in my head, and I would sort of chant like, you're so successful, you're the man, like all this kind of stuff, like, that seems corny, but I had to retrain my mind from this "you're a loser, you're never going to make it" story that I had in my head before. You can't do it. People are going to judge you. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to, run the other way when they find out you were a junkie, like all this kind of stuff. Um, I had to come up with something to combat that. So I never would have thought, I think, in a million years, that I would be able to feel so comfortable in my own skin and feel so good about myself, James. And I know you have kids too. It's a beautiful thing, man, to be able to look your family or your kids in the eye and know you're doing the best that you possibly can for them. So we'll end with that. How has this business and this industry shaped how you are as a man and how you are as a parent?
Well, yeah, for sure. So, I just had my fourth son, right, on April 15th, tax day of all days, right? But it really has changed the way that I look at life, and more importantly, I look at time.
Mm.
Being someone that, had a dad that was addicted to drugs, and he left home when I was 9,
Mm.
to have that experience and to have 4 boys, it's imperative for me to make sure that, I impact them in the best way possible. So I know that if I'm slacking, they're watching, right? If I'm actually taking action and doing things and growing and taking myself to another level, they're watching, right? So because they're going to want to emulate me. So I realize that, and I understand that to be that role model is super, super important, because I understand the absence of it, right? So it's just allowed me to have the time freedom to be able to do what I want when I want to, and to be there, to be present.
Mm.
And I think that's just been a blessing for them and for me as well.
you're changing the narrative, man, in your family. You're, it's just, man, it's a powerful, powerful thing. And I really respect that and admire that about you and any man or woman who that is on the forefront of their mind, who that's a priority to, because it is to me as well. So, dude, it's been absolutely great to have you on. Thanks. I hope you'll come
Sure.
back. I know you will. I'll twist your
Absolutely.
arm, and we'll talk to you later, brother. All right.
Absolutely.
All right, man. See ya. All right, my friends. Well, there you have it. Uh, James Jordan. Super, super, super cool dude. And if you have a chance to be able to work with him and take his recommendations, do it, because he's a dude that I've known for a long time. And his heart's in the right place, and his experience is unquestioned. And that's going to be it for today. All right. Join us back here tomorrow and every day at 10 a.m. Eastern Time for Wake Up Legendary. Go forth with your day, with power, with passion, with empathy, knowing that even if you are taking action, and if you are beginning to achieve your goals or crushing it with your goals, that there's somebody else out there that's struggling today. And know that if you are struggling today and you're trying to figure out, how do I believe in myself? How do I, step things up? How do I change this story that I have in my head? How, what this all is just a different language to me. I don't even understand what these guys are saying. Like, this is crazy. This sounds like this sounds like a cult. This sounds like a big bunch of crap. These guys are full of, listen, just stick around, right? Stick around. Keep listening, keep watching, keep take action on faith. That's one of the things that I think is most important. Many of you people are, people of faith and people who believe in things that you don't see every day. But when it comes to believing in yourself, which you see standing right there in front of you, you have a hard time with that. So know that you can't help anybody else until you help yourself. And the greatest gift that you can give the world, the greatest gift that you can give your family, the greatest gift that you can give your kids is to work on you and to actually do what's best for you, to actually, as James was talking about, go after your goals and dreams and passions, because the biggest impact that we make on people is not with our words. It's with them watching us saying, I see what he's doing there. Right? If I think about my kids, it was never really anything that I said. As a matter of fact, if you have kids, you know that you've probably told them stuff a million times, and they heard it from that homeless dude, came home and said, "You're not going to believe what I heard today." And you're going to say, "I've been telling you that for 10 years. So it's not our words. It's not me showing up here on a daily basis thinking that I'm going to say something. It's that you're going to feel something and you're going to remember how I made you feel, or you're going to see me showing up. And that's going to set an example for you showing up for your people, for your business, and do it consistently and do it to the best of your ability. So with that being said, I'm going to go start my day, all right, and get to work. Be legendary, and we'll talk to you later.